What's up guys? We're back again with the new best Golem deck in the game. The rank 89 player in the world is popping off with rocks, wrecking every pro he plays against. By cheaply cycling knight skeletons and bombers, you can get multiple elixir collectors on the field and get to your evolutions. Even if you don't break through with Golem Phoenix, Evolve Bomber Tornado can always scoop up damage. I messaged EGW, the highest ranked Golem player in the world, for some tips on how to play the deck the best way, to see if he had some secret tips to give us some extra edge on the opponents. While we're waiting for a response, we'll jump into some games and see what we can do. Once he responds with his top tier tips, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of worried for our opponents. A gigantic Golem love to everyone that's using credit code SirTag to make all the high for videos possible. All right, this guy's got the Headless Horseman banner, and we are ready to decapitate this man one more time. So we're gonna head on over with our bomber in the back. It's just a really nice cycle to cycle because it's a 2 elixir card, and you end up getting an evolution after 2 cycles. So like spamming the bomber as much as we possibly can. And then if we're playing into Prince, it feels uncomfortable to go for us like an Elixir Collector right now. As much as I want to, it just likely isn't the right decision. I'm thinking that we Phoenix, go for Elixir Collector after the bomber is going to be dropped on defense if he spams more stuff. We eat a lot of damage from the Prince, but overall, not horrible. If we can get an Elixir Collector safely on the map, I will eat 2,000 damage without any worries in the world. I need to not get zapped here, so I'm going to go for Skeletons so we can hopefully keep the Mega Knight at bay. Yes, look at that. The Mega Knight didn't even get to jump today. Wow, he didn't even jump on his brother Knight. It feels good. So, Bomber Inferno Dragon forcing out the Fireball means he has no Fireball in cycle for our second iteration of Elixir Collector. And that's why we like this deck. You don't really go in for Golem in the back first play. You wait to make your opponent pay. And then you ruin their day by spamming the Golem, drop a whole bunch of cards behind it, and that's how this deck works at full capability. So, go for Skeletons here too. I think this is fine. Obviously, the Prince will do a lot of damage to our tower, but if we can get a Knight to push it off, that'd be huge. If not, it's still okay because we get the Knight to counter push and tank for our Phoenix, and maybe even an Inferno Dragon if we wanted to. But we have an Evolved Knight, so I might as well get the most out of this. So, I'm going to Tornado because it does kill all of his cards. There's no way that that thing's surviving. Then I can go for another Elixir Collector if I really wanted to, but when we're up this uncomfortable amount of nah, screw it. I was going to say, we're up this amount, I should probably go in for a Golem. But throw caution to the wind and let's win. That's the way that we're playing. 3 Elixir Collectors in single Elixir. Have you guys ever seen that before in your lives? Probably not. So that might do a ton of damage. Not enough to take the tower, but we can plop down our Golem here. He could Fireball at any point to take the Elixir Collector out and the tower, but we're in a prime position to go and spam stuff behind this Golem, and it's going to be pretty funny. That doesn't take my tower, right? Oh, it does at max ladder. I guess it does. Wow. Log does 85 damage. That's insane. I wasn't ready for that. All right, we're in a NATO here. We want to make sure the Golem plops down and dies in the face of the Firecracker. And if you Fireball, you're not going to have a good time because I can Golem on the other side now. So, as you can see, we have more Elixir than we know what to do with, and that's the cheat code that is this deck. When you get 3 Elixir Collectors, your opponent's screaming, what the heck, like, what do I do to defend? There's really not much you can do, even with an Electro Wizard in the deck to counteract our Inferno Dragon. We have too many Inferno Dragons. We got another one on the other side, and now you're going to get dissected everywhere you go, my dude. So, we're going to go in for our Skeletons, Bomber, just to splash onto the tower and take the other one if we want. As you can see, this was utter dominance, and it was disgraceful to see an Electro Wizard lose to Inferno Dragon this badly. The 3 crown was undeniably inevitable, and this deck is cruising. Currently, we are pushing all the way up to 5,800 in the world. Once you have an Elixir Collector advantage, this deck reduces your opponents to rubble. Oh, I almost forgot, the best player using this deck uses Cannoneer at number 89 in the world. So to play the best version, we're gonna make a swift swap. All right, we are ready to lock in with our Cannoneer. So, best strategy for us is just to bolster through with a Knight and a Bomber and force out Elixir from our opponent while deceiving our opponent, not really understanding that we're going to be running a Golem deck, right? How is he going to figure out that we got a Golem when we have a Bomber, an Inferno Dragon, and a Knight, right? Like, you would expect it to maybe be a Balloon deck, some clunky, funky Lava Hound deck. I think he's going to be running a Graveyard deck, which is really not what we want to play against when we switch to Cannoneer. Cannoneer fires so ridiculously slowly, so it's great against people that are going to be running decks that are more so beatdown oriented, but someone that is playing something like Graveyard, where you have a lot of swarming skeletons that are piling on your tower, it's not advantageous for you when you're running a Golem deck. Because obviously the skeletons are going to swarm and you have nothing to counter them. So our strategy here hinges on the fact that we can get an elixir advantage and then go in for our golem. That is the real way that we have to play. So I'm going to go in for another knight. I'm going to go for an elixir collector immediately. And we're dropping our elixir collectors postured more so in that position because we don't want to drop it in the corner. If you drop it in the corner, the graveyard can fully surround you and you're dead. You just instantly lose. Also, I have to defend skeletons, which is like a very inconvenient thing for me. I don't love defending against one elixir skeletons when they're just gone, you know? They should be dead. Could be something I have to worry about. Inferno Dragon in the right? Yeah, I think so. Because that knight's dead. There's no way he defends that or does anything with it. All right. Our Inferno Dragon cycler on the right was postured in a position where I expected him to go in. And he didn't. Feels bad, man. We're going for our golem here. I wonder if the Inferno Dragon does damage to this. It probably does. Stops the baby dragon from tanking for the graveyard, so he can't graveyard. I was kind of expecting that to work out for us, and it worked out really well. It might seem stupid, but there was a reason for that, guys. As I said before, you do not want him to be tanking at all. All right, we can go for a bomber here maybe, and then tornado. Possibly finesse him a little bit that way. The bomber splashes onto the tower. It's better than any other mechanism of damage. If that just stays planted on the tower, we might just win. Like, look at that thing. It did all that damage. It did all the damage by itself. Strong Independent Win Condition. Am I right or am I right? All right, so we can tornado here. He's going to lose his bomber now, I think. If we can just NATO and get the bomber shot, beautiful. We can Phoenix again and then plant down more stuff. This is going to be hard for us to work with, but there's still a shot. You know, we just need to win this interaction and go for another knight and have all of his other stuff on the left stockpile on the wrong side. So the Inferno Dragon is going near his tower, which is good, but we have to get a golem down. It's not going to be easy. Yeah, he's going to graveyard me immediately. Super suboptimal, but it is what it is. As you guys can see, we do not have a good answer to graveyard in our entire deck. This is the worst matchup that we could get. But again, we do have Evolved Bomber, and that is the way that we've been trying to play this matchup. We're trying to win with the Evolved Bomber. That is really the sole way to win. We're going to go for our Golem right now. We're going to try to get him going for a bad play like that Ice Wizard. Hopefully he goes in for Barbarian Barrel on top of the Phoenix Egg, and then he doesn't have it for the Evolved Bomber. That's what we're hoping for here at least. All right, so we can do this. We can Evo Bomber. We can Tornado. We can go Skeletons. We can go Knight. Yeah, he's dead. He's dead. He's dead, right? I think we got him. Hopefully. I mean, we might be dead. I don't know. No, dude. Oh. Brutal loss, right? So yeah, if you got Cannoneer, you're going to have a miserable matchup in the graveyard, especially with Ice Wizard, Tornado, Knight, and Tombstone. Like, that is a match made in hell. Literally, if I kept the Princess Tower, I wouldn't have had to over-respond to Graveyard Skeletons, and I would have 100% won that matchup. But when you play the most optimal version of the deck, it will still have one or two weaknesses every time. And unfortunately, we matched the major weakness immediately. Even in the worst matchup possible, the Evolved Bomber made the game incredibly close. We were 200 HP away from winning. If one of his units survived a little bit longer, that Evolved Bomber would have closed out the game in our favor. So shout out to him for being the real MVP and showcasing his true strength. Practically every other matchup is better with Cannoneer in this deck, so let's bounce on the next game and make a comeback there. All right, it's time for our redemption arc here, okay? Lbot 3000, we are about to hopefully get you all the way down to the bottom of the world, sink you into the abyss with our bomber. So if we're able to blast down those goblins for a 2-for-2 trade, not the worst thing in the world for us because we get our evolution with our knight and our bomber, the first two cards that we cycled. That is insanely lucrative for us. We're trying to speedrun towards our evolutions and then also our Elixir Collector. The double E's, that's all we want to see. So I think we want to go in for our Skeletons here as well and then maybe go in for Elixir Collector. Interestingly enough, we see Archer's evolution most likely. So in that situation, it's not necessarily ideal because I don't have the arrows in our deck. However, he wasn't anticipating the Inferno Dragon. Just lost an entire Goblin Giant. He's saying good luck because he's so annoyed with our deck. Look at him. He's like, Jake, you can't be real. You are not a real player. You have an Inferno Dragon with Elixir Collector. And that's why the deck works so well. All you need is 4 Elixir to defend an entire stampede of a beatdown deck. And then you get multiple Collectors. And then you catch your opponent off guard because the deck is unorthodox. They can't put you in a box. They don't know what you're playing. And they can't think of what they're supposed to do to go in for a push because none of it makes sense. They go in for win condition, it gets tornadoed or melted by the Inferno Dragon. If it doesn't get melted by the Inferno Dragon, it's tornadoed to the King Tower. So, you know, it's pretty cool. So that's what we're going for. We're going to go in for our Golem now. That is really unlucky that we have matched into a Sparky. Not easy for us to kill. But we can float a lot of big birds behind our golem and say that the Sparky's not able to shoot them. So yeah, this is the cool strategy that we like to do. Also, I want to go for a bomber off to the side and maybe splash onto his stuff if we can. That'd be cool. Very nice. Yeah, splashing onto the tower is huge. And it's not like he's able to kill the bomber either. So, huge value for me. And then I can go and flow with more stuff behind it. Dude's going Goblin Giant directly into more Phoenixes. It's insane how this deck works. It's crazy that you can just keep throwing stuff at your opponent the later the game gets. I have no way of stopping. We are steamrolling this dude and making a really solid comeback. So as you guys can see, easy wins whenever you get multiple Elixir Collectors. You just have to get to that stage where you mess up your opponent, force them to overcommit into you, and then the game's all over for them. It's fitting that LBot3000 lost with 30 seconds remaining in the game, and he ran away from the fight so he could sleep better at night, not wasting anyone's time. All right, so I talked to EGW, the highest ranked player with this deck, and he gave me a secret play that no one would ever anticipate. Even I have never seen it before. So you want to cycle to the Evolved Knight, and then you go in for a push with a Golem and a Phoenix behind the Golem. And then the opponent will kind of overcommit into that. Meanwhile, you go in for an Evolved Knight tanking on the right side for your Inferno Dragon. You have dual lane pressure. And then, in the middle, you just go in for a Bomber or Evolved Bomber to clean up any distractions that they might use to pull the Inferno Dragon and the Knight, and anything that they might use to distract the Phoenix with. Also, this is going to be a fun game. Like, the fact that we're already in a very awesome spot where we force out the Void, which is one of the best counters to Elixir Collector in the entire game, means that we have free reign to go in for our Elixir Collector and not worry about anything in life. Oh, this Inferno Dragon! It's gonna lock on the balloon first! Let's go. Y'all can't even see how excited I am. I hate playing against Void, and the fact that we're winning against it is a vibe, because it is the hardest card for us to play against in Clash Royale with this deck. But we're gonna try EGW's game plan as soon as we cycle a Knight, get to the evolution, and go for another Elixir Collector. He's gonna void this, by the way. Is this dumb to do? I think it has to be stupid because he'll just void it. But we want to go and cycle to another, like, Evo Knight. So we're just going to do it. It's going to be a negative trade for us. It's fine. I'm okay with this because he's going to be spending Elixir that he's not going to recoup. And I want to get back to our Golem plus Evolved Knight push. So this is what we needed. We have the cards assembled. We've assembled the Avengers. And I think it's going to work out real well. We're going to Phoenix here with the Golem, as he said, as the OP player instructed, and then we go in for our Evolved Knight with an Inferno Dragon the other side, and people just do not appreciate or respect or understand how this works. We're going to go for the Bomber first on the Skellies, then we're going to go Knight, and then we're going to go in for our Inferno Dragon. The way this works is we're bouncing on all of the splash cards that we need to kill. Meanwhile, we have the Knight, and we have dual lane pressure, and we have the Phoenix. It's just too much for this guy to manage. Look at this, guys. We're able to go for another Phoenix on the left-hand side. We forced out the Evolved Zap. We have a ton of crap coming at him. And yeah, like the Phoenix got reborn because there's too much. It's practically impossible. He barely had enough Elixir for the Tombstone, and then he got it down too late because of the overflowing power that we had having the Elixir Collector advantage. It is impossible to stop this thing. He was telling me that if you do that push that I just showed, with the Evolved Knight, Inferno Dragon, the Bomber in the middle, and then also the Phoenix behind the Golem, nothing stops it in the game. This is a top 200 player that's like, hey, I'm beating everyone in Clash Royale, the best pros in the game, just by doing that strategy. And it's awesome that I was able to talk to him directly for some secret tips, because I was playing the deck well, and it was fun, but to win every game, I was like, how is he winning against Graveyard? Because I was taking a look at his battle log, and he was showing me, he's like, hey, I don't lose against anything. You lost against Graveyard, Jake. I don't do that. I'm allergic to losing. And I was like, okay, how do you do it? He shared the secret tips, and we collected a super easy win. So the math is mathin'. It's about time for us to go goleming on to the next one. It's time to try our tactic against an even better player at a higher rank. So we're gonna go for our Bomber and Knight immediately just to spam the evolutions. And you guys saw the miner got incinerated. It didn't do a single ounce of damage to our pristine tower. Also, after identifying that our opponent has archers and a miner, it's probably going to be a balloon deck. I mean, we just played against a Lava Hound deck, so it's highly likely that we'll match into someone that is not just running Lava Hound, but having a lot of other support cards, probably like Snowball, Bar Barrel with the miner. If we drop our Elixir Collector in the middle, it's going to be in our best position to defend because we can just drop a Bomber and then the miner gets devoured by the double towers, or we could tornado it directly to the king tower. It's kind of cool from that perspective. Anyway, spamming towards the evolution, that's the way that we want to play, because that's how this deck gets its full strength. Goblins, okay. Not super scary for me. Go knight, go bomber, get our golem down. Double elixir generally yields a bit better benefit for this deck, so I kind of want to get another collector on the map or get to double. I'm just going to cycle Inferno Dragon, feel a little bit of a scrupulous investor right now. We're not going to be dropping something too stupid. We're going to make sure that we invest all of our elixir meaningfully here. He'll poison, we'll get a positive elixir trade with that poison, and then we should be able to go in for our golem now. With our Inferno Dragon getting back in hand with Evolved Bomber and Evolved Knight, this is where we get our huge push of doom. So we're cycling our golem in the back. If he wants to spam enemy, we can use our Knight on defense on the other side, then go for the Inferno Dragon with it. It's nice because having the Knight in your hand means that you can defend, apply pressure, everything just works out. Setting up our Phoenix is the best thing to do right now because it's harder for him to really play around that. Now we can cycle our Inferno Dragon on the right side, going for an Evolved Knight, and get our Bomber down depending on what happens. He hasn't given us any splash damage, so it's not worthwhile doing it. You want to think about what you're doing. Like, I'm not going to Bomber in the middle if there's nothing else for us to hit. However, if we can Tornado here, oh my gosh. Did you guys just see what I saw? His tower is in shambles. The Bomber locked and loaded up the W. And that was utterly destructive. Okay, okay. We see a little bit more spam. We see a lot more spam, actually. Holy dude. Chill for a second. I need to defend this mortar. It is coming full blast in my face. But with a Phoenix Inferno Dragon and a Bomber, we erased it. So as you guys can see, you flock through with a ton of flying frogs, aka Inferno Dragons and Phoenixes. And even some of the better players in the world, like this guy's in a phenomenal clan, they get melted. It's cool that the Phoenix resurrected at the same time. There were 2 Inferno Dragons in tandem together and 2 Bombers. We had 2 of everything until that last Phoenix decided to fly in the match and ruin it all. It was serendipitous to see Dragon get dragged down by dragons though. That 3 crown was cannibalism in its purest sense. After incorporating the pro players' tips and tricks, this deck feels unstoppable. A massive shout out to EGW for creating the deck and being nice enough to help us get better with it. Rock the like button, subscribe for more daily content, and have an amazing rest of your day.